Masc is a short film. It's about a young boy. We follow him trying to appeal to his super hyper masculine father, while also handle a bully at school. He does this unknowingly by wearing a Diablo Cojuelo mask. Diablo Cojuelo is a Dominican cultural carnival piece that people wear during carnival. What ends up happening is that his mother gives him this mask to try to hide his feelings from his father. Try to hide the fact that he's crying from his father, under the pretense that the mask is going to give him enough strength to stand up to the bully. So he wears this mask to try to, be a man for his father, but then also stand up to the bully. So that's pretty much very quickly what the film is about.
That's very cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Did you ever have any experiences with bullying, like in your life? Or like...
Oh yeah. Growing up, I was like a big anime fan, big like wrestling fan, big like typical things that back then were considered nerdy, but now it's like, yeah, Dragon Ball Z, that's totally the thing. So I was totally a fan of all those things when I was growing up, and I had like folders and like trapper keepers or binders, as some of the youths call it or whatever. I remember specifically one time I had like this toy Pikachu that like if you press the bottom of it, it would like make a Pikachu sound or whatever. And I had this one kid like steal it and like throw it against the wall and break it just because they thought it was nerdy or whatever. And I was like, all right, you know what? You suck.
So how much of yourself do you see in this kid? Is that the character that you wrote? Like how much of yourself is there?
I'd say a good amount of me up until probably the middle of high school. Obviously, me in high school is older than the son in the film. He's around 8 years old. But I think in the sense that although my father was a very positive influence in my life, growing up in an urban neighborhood, growing up in a Latino household, you're very easily influenced by different things going on, whether it be media trying to push at you that, well, not just media, like aventura and like just like Spanish music, like literally pushing at you like that you have to be like a mujeriego and like being a womanizer and like all of these different ideas of what it is to be manly as a Latino male. Like that was always shown to me, and it's even though I didn't directly have that as an influence from my father or from my brothers, it was just like that's always there, and then you can connect that to like other forms of media like BT or just like rap music or anything like that. Like it's prevalent outside of the Latino experience, but it was just always there as a Latino male. Like you are the man of the house. If I had sisters, they would have been cleaning things up, whereas I'm like learning how to run, like how to make money, whereas they would have been learning how to like clean things. So like that idea was always there, But I think in the sense that I was pretty impressionable, I was lucky enough to grow up in a pretty stable household. The father in this film, the character I play, is not in any kind of way a portrayal of my dad. My dad was like super loving, very like model representation of what I think a man should be. Very like he held it down for his family and whatnot, but he also showed emotions. He celebrated when we showed emotions and when we like spoke about what was going on in school or. I grew up with two brothers, so like two older brothers. So like whenever we were having problems and like fighting or like arguing with each other, he kind of like got in between and like spoke, like had to speak it out in contrast to like fighting it out and whatnot. In contrast, a lot of my peers, part of the inspiration for the film, a lot of my peers and just people growing up, particularly in a Dominican neighborhood of Washington Heights, it just they weren't that lucky. Either the fathers weren't around or they were negatively influenced by different things, whether it be drugs or alcohol, poverty, different things like that. So a lot of times it was like, fight through your problems or like hide what's going on in front of with a mask, so to speak, of bravado and machismo. So that was something I saw pretty often growing up. In middle school and high school, I was trying to be cool pretty often, but it was just always like I always felt in the back of my mind like this isn't me and this is very hard for me to do because like being cool wasn't being a good person. At the time it was like trying to like hit on a bunch of different girls or whatever, and that never succeeded for me because it was just like this isn't me. Like I don't know what I'm doing.
Did you ever try it though?
I mean, I tried. I failed horribly, but it was like I've never been that kind of person. But it was like what I was supposed to be. To some extent, I was like, maybe this is what I should be doing. and this is what I should be focusing on and whatnot. And that kind of sentiment was very easy for me as a kid to like accept as what I should be doing. And I see that as pretty similar to the boy in this film. The reason why I decided to make him wear a mask, in particular Derrick Delgado mask, is because the mask is very colorful, but also they can be pretty scary.
Yeah. Oh, they're terrifying.
They're
when
very
I was
scary.
A kid, dude, my grandma had one that, first of all, was very glittery. So whenever you held it, glitter got everywhere. But it was terrifying.
So the idea of wearing this thing, when the boy wears it to confront the boogie, it's like, oh crap, there's this thing coming at me. It's like almost not even human, But then the other thing is that it's very colorful. We use colors like crazy in this film to try to represent different things. The dad and the boogie, they tend to wear more red shades to kind of represent the rage and the anger, whereas the mother wears bluer shades because it's kind of cooler and kind of represents society accepted feminine roles of like being more calm and more relaxed and whatnot. So throughout the film, we have a lot of different colors hitting the boy, a lot of different lights, like reds and blues and whatnot. And that kind of represents him taking in the influences around him. So you'll have red lights on him, and that's him learning that the dad this is what it is to be a man from the dad. The mask has all these colors on it as well, and it's kind of a blank slate. He wears it at first to try to hide the emotions, but then also to like stand up to the boogie. But really it ends up being a blank slate that the dad can literally draw whatever he wants on it. Like whatever colors of masculinity he wants imposed on a kid, that's essentially what ends up being pasted onto the mask or drawn onto the mask and internalized by the boy. So the idea of just being very impressionable, that like it's a through line throughout the film. And I think up until around high school, like later in high school, when I realized like, yo, live your life, do your thing, like stop being influenced by all these other people and society as a whole, like that was kind of a thing for me as well. I was really into music. I was really into dancing. So many of my close friends said that was gay, like just because I was dancing. Like I was learning that. So I was playing basketball pretty heavily, and I got injured. Basketball was cool. Basketball is manly.
Could you dunk?
That's how I got injured.
Wow.
So I went to dunk the ball. I had too much momentum. I grabbed the rim. I missed the dunk, which sucks. But I had so much momentum that I ended up getting parallel with the ground, and I fell from like the top of the rim, or the top of the thing. I fell on my back, and I was like, okay, this isn't for me. Like, I'll still play or whatever, but I'm not gonna focus on this. I couldn't really move for probably like the first 2 weeks of my senior year of high school. Like I had to like essentially sleep sitting up like this because of the pain on my lower back. Yeah. And even now, like if I do a squat, like I'll feel it. So when that happened, I was like, hey, suddenly I have a bunch of free time because I'm no longer playing basketball like every hour of the day. So I picked up dance classes. I was like, you know what? Salsa's cool. Salsa's fun. Like I'll dance salsa. Suddenly that's not manly enough. I'm here moving my shoulders, moving my waist in ways that like my friends and my peers didn't think was normal. So now I'm gay. Like,
do you have a step that you could like break out right now?
I mean, for Latinos and like just, it's very interesting when you think about that because I'm here dancing salsa and it's feminine and it's considered gay to like a lot of my peers until they see that I'm dancing with the woman and like I'm like getting very close to a woman and I'm like grinding with the woman or whatever. Not grinding, but like doing these motions, like these sexual motions with the woman. It's like, oh crap, like that's interesting. Like you're doing something with the woman, so that's kind of cool. But it's still gay because why are you moving your shoulders like that? Why are you moving your waist like that? Like you're not. That's not normal.
In your high school years,
yeah.
While you were doing dancing, while you were exploring your more artistic side, one of the things you wanted to get into was spoken word.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, you explore that in this film that you just created. Like, yes. How does that all work out?
The idea of having these emotions that I really wanted to get out, whether it be like because I had a crush on someone or because like I saw injustices that I felt were just just really agitating me, and I really wanted to get some kind of voice out on it. I think that's really where it came from, and it kind of played into the idea of wanting to present my artistic side to the world. And that was viewed, similar to dancing, that was viewed as kind of a more feminine or like a gay thing. And I found a lot of like, it just really annoyed me, really frustrated me internally, the fact that I had these emotions. I really wanted to get this out and I couldn't. The idea there was that I would at times literally write down my poetry on like a piece of paper and put it in my desk. And not my personal desk, it was like the English classroom desk. So anyone who would sit there can find it and then they can read the poem. They don't have to know it's from me, but it's like I can get my voice out, And I remember distinctly telling my English teacher back then that I really wanted to have this avenue to express myself and to express my poetry. And I remember her looking at me really sad because like she understood where I was coming from, but the school didn't have something for me, Like she was kind of telling me to check out all these different places outside of the school, and I'm like, yo, I'm like 14. Like, what you expect me to do? Like, I'm not gonna go. Like, I grew up in Washington Heights, like top of Manhattan. You're telling me to go to the Lower East Side to like try and do some poetry thing, like in the middle of like AP class this or like freaking Calc 3. Like, I don't have time to do that. And like being in the debate team or doing all this stuff, so it just wasn't an option for me. And then at the same time, my closer friends were still considering it as more of a feminine thing. So it's like kind of suppressing that side of me and just those sentiments was very detrimental to my development. So I had the opportunity to use the poem or the spoken word part of me in this film because the film is broken up into two main sections. The first part is more traditional, more narrative. Kind of the boy being bullied and then the mother consoling him. At some point, the mother gives him this Diablo Cojuelo mask to try to hide the fact that he's crying from his father, who's now approaching into the scene. So once he puts the mask on, everything becomes super hyper realistic and very like surreal, and like that's when all the colors come in and all the crazy close-ups, and it's kind of the close-ups in particular are meant to kind of suggest that we're going into the boy's mind, like we're getting very close to his head to really see what he's thinking about. And where poetry comes in is that this section of the movie is essentially a bunch of different montages showcasing what the father is giving the son as an example of what it is to be a man, whether it be insulting the mother for thinking that she should be able to help pay the bills, or literally abusing her, or like whatever examples he thinks it is to be manly. That's what he's showing to the boy. So I wrote the spoken word piece that parallels that and reflects what the boy is currently thinking about, how the abuse and the hypermasculinity and the toxic masculinity, how that's influencing the boy's psyche. The granting organization, Art with Impact, their focus is to show different issues and how they affect your mental health. So from the beginning, the film was supposed to be about the boy's mental health and how toxic masculinity, as shown from the father, as well as the bully, how that's affecting his psyche.
It's very fascinating that I think the facets of masculinity, at least in Latino culture and Black culture, are like, you can do anything you want, right? Like, you can do anything you want in the spectrum of actions as long as you are being bad to women. Like, that feels like, you know what I mean? Like, you see, like, I don't know, like Prince or something like that. It's like he gets to be feminine and androgynous and this and that, but like people were still really into it because he had this very masculine quality of being superior to the women around him. And like similar to like rappers, similar to like Kanye West, like he got to wear skinny jeans and all this stuff, but his common thread was like, but I still abuse women though, so it's cool, ha ha ha.
Yeah.
I've been through that, similar thing. He can sing as high as he wants, but people are still into it.
Yeah.
Because, you know. Yeah. So I don't know, I thought that was an interesting thing. I thought maybe you'd have an interesting insight on that.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think I 100% agree. I think I've been doing this in particular. Romeo specifically, it's interesting because like I do remember people making fun of him, like saying like, oh, you know, he's gay or whatever, because like he's singing. Yeah. You know, it's like, and then I remember him responding like, how about you let me spend a night with your girl and then she'll tell you if I'm gay or not. And it's like, okay, like that was a sick burn. I appreciate you getting back at him, but that's at the woman's expense. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, also, what's wrong with being gay? Anyway, it's a different discussion, but I totally agree. I mean, if you want to think about rappers, like you're thinking like 50 Cent, Ja Rule, like part of that beef like started off because 50 was calling Ja Rule a singer. And it's like, okay, like let the man make his money. Not supporting Ja Rule Fire Fest and all that, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, we could support.
We could support. Where is Ja? Like, where is Ja? Anyway,
baby girl, put it on me.
but like, I'm getting at like I totally agree, and it's just interesting thinking about the different examples of that. Like, you'll have like conscious rappers talking negatively about women, and they're still considered conscious. And it's like, all right, you got to do it for the club or whatever, or you got to do it because this is what people will purchase. This is like the product that people want to buy or want to listen to, and it's like, you know, literally the club. That's where you'll make your money on the radio, all the plays or whatever. And it's to a certain extent, it's like, how much are you doing this because this is what you really believe in? Like specifically about rappers and singers and musicians and whatnot. How much is it that you're doing this because this is what you believe in versus this is what your production company wants? Your producers need you to sell money. And then at that point, it's like, whose fault is it? Is it the artist, or is it the media company, or is it society that consumes it? There's like this triumvirate of like a snake eating itself, where it's like, you know, society wants this kind of stuff because that's what's been given to them. That's what.
Give me a second.
You're not recording?
No, that one's recording.
Okay, well, hello world.
I'm gonna leave this in the video.
So all these things that we're talking about, like, they're not person of color specific. Like, I'm 100% sure, like, Caucasian, Asian, whatever, Middle East, like, it's real. Like, you know, like, it's a real big thing. But like, once you look at it like with the lens of urban culture, and that includes like Latino, African American, Afro-latino, all of that, like, you start to see how much escalated the stakes are when it comes to like making sure that me as a father, my son is sticking to what it is to be a man. Partially because it's like me as and this is hypothetical, me with like my son or whatever, me as a person of color, I've been subjugated by this community of so many different ways, you know, like because of my race, because of my accent, because of whatever. Now I'm raising this kid who is gonna get those same experiences because he's a person of color, but now also he might be gay, or he might be doing things that popular culture considers gay or considers more feminine.
So like, when I think of this, I think of Kevin Hart.
Yeah, exactly.
And like the tweet that he put out, where he's like, if my son's gay, I'm gonna hit him over the head with
Yeah. Like, there's, of course, like, he's ridiculous for saying that, and I'm like, sure, that was like way back when or whatever, but there's a certain level of like, hey, I'm trying to protect my kid because I know how bad it can be as a black person. I know how much worse it could be as like this other, you know what I mean? So like, the idea of being in the arts and like, as long as I'm putting down someone else, it's acceptable because like, hey, focus on that person I'm putting down. Like, don't focus on me. Like, I'm here making money, you know what I mean? Like, give me those props. You know, so it's really interesting and it's unfortunate. It's a multi-layered issue. You know what I'm trying to say?
Absolutely.
Got very philosophical. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, man. Yeah. You didn't get philosophical.
These grapes are doing it to me, you know?
These grapes!
I wish high school me got to see this, like, as high school me, just because this is literally made for high school me, or like someone like me in high school who was super impressionable and was being told like, you can't do this, you can't do that because it's not man enough. And it's like, yes, you can do whatever you want, you know what I mean?